Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if your sun is in Libra and your moon is in Pisces. And I haven't written out anything to refer to as I discuss this. I'm doing this off the cuff, and that can make it more uh, spontaneous and flowing maybe. But the first thing to note is that I think this is a very creative combination. So if you are someone who is not in an artistic type of a career, I wonder if you at least do this in your private life, like your hobbies. I really think when people have an innate creative drive, that they should express it because it will make them feel like they are, I don't know, balanced emotionally, but also they may have talent in that area, and then they're sharing who they are with others and they are uplifting other people. So it's not just about what it does for you, but also how it can assist humanity. So the sun is the aspirational self, which means our goals, the light that we came here to shine. And the moon is the karmic influence, the emotional nature. And I don't think it's a coincidence that emotions are, would be connected to karma because they're about conditioned patterns and reactions and things like that. And the moon can also be the mother, the way that she acted and the way that maybe she parented you. And with Pisces, it might have been not that much in some cases. There might have been, you might have been more of the parent to her than she was to you in the worst case scenario. But in any case, I think I said case about 3 times in one sentence. It's because I was thinking to myself, I always have to type in whether or not I've done a particular combination because I haven't created any kind of playlist for these. And I was thinking to myself, oh, am I going to do one where the sun is in Pisces and the moon is in Libra? And I said, yeah, because they will be different to have that, switch between the sun being in Pisces versus being the moon in Pisces. So with the sun in Libra, we have Libra as a cardinal air sign ruled by Venus, and the moon in Pisces, Pisces ruled by Neptune. And so how this can manifest is that you may be the kind of person where you're very, like, let's say you are interested in having a career where you're able to assert yourself, go for it. And of course, other factors would have to, cooperate for these things to be true in the greatest sense of the word. But let's say that these things are true for you and you are kind of a go-getter, being a cardinal sign, but in your private life, that's where things may fall apart, where you have a hard time with boundaries. You may have unhappy love affairs. You're definitely romantic. And that is something that is a double-edged sword. There's being romantic can be lovely, it can be it can just be like fun to view the world as magical in terms of a soulmate, looking for that perfect person, maybe finding that perfect person, or just seeing life as full of love. But because the moon is in Pisces, the person can have a lack of discernment. There can be this tendency to fall in love with the wrong people even. And this is because the moon in Pisces is super duper compassionate or empathic. And you are somebody who may acutely feel the pain of others. And the very last thing on this planet Earth that you want to do with this combination is to hurt somebody's feelings, to make them feel bad, to make them angry. These are not things that, I mean, you might think that this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. And that's how you get in trouble, because you can find it hard to say no. You really people please in order to prevent other people from getting angry, prevent them from being upset, uh, disappointed, what have you. The sooner that you learn that people are responsible for their own feelings and that it's not fatal for somebody to get disappointed. It's not even fatal for somebody to get their feelings hurt. And it's really up to them to decide whether or not something is insulting to them or what have you, because you're not going to be a mean person, most likely. So if somebody gets their feelings hurt, it's probably because they are upset that they're not getting their way. And that's on them. You know, you can't, even if you say yes to everything, other people will still find a reason to be upset if they want to. And the thing about Libra as a sun sign is that Libra needs to begin to find a way, and this can come in various ways to do so, where you don't need other people's approval. And I mean, it's a process, but you can definitely do it. And when that happens, if for some chance you get asked by somebody to do something and you really, either you don't feel like doing it or you can't do it, you just can't, you have other obligations, you can say no in a way that doesn't feel defensive. And if there's fallout from it, you can handle that. It's not going to be the end of the world. You're going to be like, oh, well, that person, if they're reasonable, they'll get over it. I mean, yeah, sometimes we get upset when somebody doesn't give us what we want, but it can go away eventually. And it frees you up, and it will also make you more authentic, because you will be only doing things that you want instead of thinking that you have to be everything to every person. It's not possible, and it's not fair to you. And the other thing too is that with the moon in Pisces, you may feel as if you don't have a choice, that you have to go along to get along. And this is that learned helplessness that the moon in Pisces can learn from growing up in an environment that might have been dysfunctional. When I do personal readings and I see the sun, moon, or rising sign in Pisces, or in Scorpio sometimes too, I think that the person probably had an above average difficult childhood. And it doesn't mean that the person hates their childhood. It might have been just like with the moon in Pisces, if your mom was somebody who had a drug addiction, mental illness, was an abused woman, and some people, they identify so strongly as a victim that they can continually find that they choose relationships where they get victimized. And so it's, this continuous cycle. And this can lead the children of such a woman, or, it doesn't have to be a woman, but I'm just saying because the moon can be the mother. That's why I'm mentioning uh, females. But you may notice this if you're a male, this can also apply. But with the moon in Pisces, because, the mother might have been a victim in some way, uh, you may identify with her, or you may find yourself attracted to people who are like that. And then that will not be true 100% of the time, by the way, because some people are very aware, spiritually aware people sometimes know that that is something they just are not interested in. So I'm focusing so much on relationships because I think that this is something that Libra seems to really uh, makes front and center in their life, which isn't surprising since Libra rules the seventh house of committed partnership. But the upshot can be that there is this tendency that you might have to have these relationships that are problematic, and then they become major distractions in your life because of the dysfunctional nature of these relationships. Um, and that can drag you down. That can threaten your academic success, your career success, because you're so busy maybe chasing after somebody else, or not chasing after them, but trying to clean up after them and their problems, that you neglect your own projects and goals and things like that. That's what codependency is. And that can be a major problem with this combination. In a more positive light, we can say that this combination is very creative. It can be, I was trying to differentiate between these things. I was kind of see, would this be the artist or the interpreter? And for instance, the interpreter would be somebody who's a musician or a dancer or even an actor who is taking material that has already been created and performing it in their own way, versus somebody who is, creating the actual piece of work. I think that out of the two combinations that I think this one might be more of an interpreter, but I don't think that that's an important distinction right now. But this is definitely a great position for somebody who is in, for instance, public relations, which is something that Libra can be a part of, because with the moon in Pisces, it's like casting a spell on other people, and you can have that charm where you're able to do that through your through the vibes that you put out. It's not even anything physical. And although Librans tend to be physically attractive, and even the moon can factor into your appearance. And based on those two, I can see a woman who favors dressing kind of oh, what do they call it? Like a Renaissance fair or something. The rising sign is also very important for dress matters. Maybe not as much after you're 30 years old, but at least up until then, look to your rising sign as well to see how you dress. This is a great combination for being both intellectual and intuitive, and the key is to know when you should use that brain power versus your sixth sense. I was almost sense. And there might be a little bit of a tug of war in a sense, where sometimes you believe that it's important to rely on the mind and all of that. If you're attracted to academia, that can just be something that you feel is very important. But in the deep down inside, I think you really are quite psychic, and that it's not about rational thought. It's about your intuitive nature. So there might be a little bit of a clash between those two. This combination forms what is called a in conjunction. It's 150 degrees apart. And an in conjunction is a combination that is really considered weird, that is really incongruous. It doesn't fit. And you have to go by the element to prove why this is. So with the sun in an air sign and the moon in water, air and water are like water and oil. They just don't mix well, because air is the mind, the intellect, and it's detached. The water is the emotions, very attached. And one is very much about feeling one's way through life, and maybe trusting in God and trusting in spirit, and the other is believing in higher education, and that the mind can solve all of your problems if you just give it enough good food. It's going to, and you exercise it all the time, it's going to be able to lead you. It won't lead you astray. Well, that's not necessarily true at all. And something like an in conjunction is hard to reconcile, because there's not even much common ground, so they say. But as a matter of fact, I do see common ground with some of these in conjunctions. Cancer and Sagittarius, I'm going to have a hard one with that one. But yeah, one of the things I see in common with Libra and Pisces is that they're both artistic. They're both also very kind-hearted. So they are coming from a place where they want to treat people well. They don't want to be mean to people. And so there is that nature, that harmonious, a peacemaker, things like that. And I could see that what just came into my mind was music. So I could see somebody who always likes to play soothing music and cultivate this space around themselves for healing and peace. Perhaps you're the type of person who loves beauty, in its various forms. Might have a good eye for that kind of thing as well. But, because Libra is ruled by Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, so that's a given. But Pisces, being ruled by Neptune, there is this idealistic streak and this tendency to love fantasy, love escape, love anything that is part of make-believe, magic, And so It really is. It's a lovely combination in many ways if you can get a handle on personal relationships and being able to be that cardinal sign and be confident. Because I think that people who have the moon in Pisces may second guess themselves way too often and feel emotionally vulnerable, insecure, and that's part of the vulnerability. And this can be sometimes because of the person that you've chosen, if they're not somebody who is um, an equal partner. I mean, it's very important to have an equal partner, but you also have to have somebody who's going to treat you with respect. And if you have that, you may have your soulmate because you certainly are romantic enough to care about it. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.